In this video, I'm going to show you how to make a sourdough country bread with rye flour. This recipe is very similar to my standard sourdough bread recipe, but the rye flour brings some notes of nuttiness and just a flavor that I absolutely love. Here's how to make it. Start by adding 300 grams of water to a mixing bowl on your digital scale, and then add 100 grams of active and risen sourdough starter. You don't have to use a rye sourdough starter. You can feed your starter with any type of flour for this recipe. This is how I prepared my starter. The night before I wanted to make this bread, I took 25 grams of sourdough starter out of the fridge. Then I fed that starter 50 grams of water, stirred it around to mix the starter into the water, and I fed it 50 grams of plain white bread flour. I stirred all of that together and let the sourdough starter rise overnight for 8 to 9 hours, and then the next morning it looked like this and was ready to use in my bread dough. So add 100 grams of active and risen sourdough starter to your mixing bowl, and then you can put the jar of leftover sourdough starter back into the fridge and save it for the next time that you want to bake. Stir the starter into the water pretty thoroughly to dissolve it. And now it's time to add the flour. We're going to be using plain white bread flour and rye flour. I'm using 100% whole grain dark rye flour. All of the rye flours I've ever found have been whole grain, but I've heard that there's some light rye flours out there that are not whole grain, so just make sure that your package specifies that it's whole grain rye flour to follow this recipe exactly. Once you've got the correct flour on your hands, add 75 grams of whole grain rye flour and 375 grams of plain white bread flour. I am using the King Arthur brand of bread flour for this recipe, the one in the blue bag. Now that all the flour has been added to the bowl, add 10 grams of kosher salt or sea salt, and that is the last ingredient you'll need for this country sourdough loaf. It's pretty simple, just water, starter, flour, and salt. The ingredients are simple and the mixing process is simple too. Just take a spoon and mix the salt into the flour and then mix all of the ingredients together to form a shaggy dough. Should take just about 1 minute of mixing with a spoon until your dough looks something like this. At this point, cover the dough up with a kitchen towel and let it rest for 30 minutes at room temperature. After that, you'll start on the stretch and folds. 30 minutes later, your dough will have rested, soaked up a lot of that water, and it'll be smoother and more elastic. This is the perfect time to stretch and fold your dough, which is an alternative to kneading. You're going to be performing 3 total sets of stretch and folds with a half-hour rest in between each one. So for the first set of stretch and folds, grab an edge of the dough and pull it up, and then fold it over the top of the dough. Do that again, stretch the next edge of dough up into the air, and then fold it over the top of the dough. And then repeat that process over and over again, giving the dough a total of about 10 to 12 stretch and folds until the dough ball starts to tighten up and resist your stretching. Once you're done stretching and folding for the first round, cover the dough up again with a kitchen towel and let it rest for another 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, do a second set of stretch and folds. This time it should be a lot easier because the dough will hold together a little bit better. It'll be a little bit stronger because you've been developing the gluten with those stretch and folds. So for this second set of stretch and folds, just give the dough 4 total folds, one on the north, east, south, and west sides of the dough, if you will. Then cover the dough up with a kitchen towel again and let it rest for 30 minutes. 30 minutes later, give the dough its third and final set of stretch and folds. This one should be even easier than the last time. 4 total folds, north, east, south, and west. And now the dough should be sufficiently developed and we can let it go through bulk fermentation or the first rise. For the first rise, I recommend moving your dough into a glass bowl with a tight-fitting lid. That way you can see how much your dough is rising through the walls of the glass bowl during the process of bulk fermentation. So pop it into an oiled glass bowl and then flip it over so that the smooth side is facing up and the seam side is facing down. Press the dough down a little bit with your fingertips, then tightly seal the top of the bowl with a lid or a sheet of plastic wrap. Then let the dough rise at room temperature for about 6 to 10 hours. Mine took 8 hours of rising before it completely doubled in size and was ready to shape. I usually don't watch the clock for the bulk fermentation. I just watch the size of the dough and how much it's growing. I know that for my particular 7-cup glass bowl, when the dough almost reaches the lid, that's when I stop the bulk fermentation because I know the dough has risen enough and doubled in size. Now it's time for the shaping step. I know I'm going to shape this loaf into an oval shape or a batard, but first I'm going to pre-shape the dough into a round ball to give the dough some extra strength and structure. So carefully release the dough from the sides of the glass bowl and then place it onto your countertop with the seam side facing down and the smooth side facing up. You can see some really good fermentation bubbles in this dough already. Cup and pull the dough with your hands in a circular motion to create tension across the top of the dough and to form it into a tight ball. Once your dough looks something like this, let it rest on your counter at room temperature, uncovered, for about 20 to 30 minutes. This is called the bench rest, and it just allows your dough, the gluten in your dough, to relax a little bit before you give it its final shape. 30 minutes later, the dough has relaxed and flattened out a little bit. It's time to shape this into an oval. Sprinkle the top of the dough with a little bit of bread flour, and then spread it across the top just to create a non-stick surface. Then flip your dough over so that the sticky side, the seam side, is facing up, and the smooth floured side is facing down against the counter. Without flattening the dough out too much or degassing it, gently stretch the dough out with your fingertips into a rectangular shape. Once you've got a rectangle that you're happy with, fold the left third of the dough over the middle third, and then press it down so it sticks. Then fold the right third of dough over the middle third, meeting the other third right in the middle, and then press down that seam to seal it. Now your dough will be elongated with a long seam running down the middle. Now starting on the end that's further away from you, roll the dough into itself into a tight cylinder. You don't want to knock out too much air from the dough, but you also want to be firm to roll the dough into a tight cylinder. Now using your thumbs, press the seam on the bottom of the bread closed to seal it, and then flip the dough back over. Now the dough is almost done shaping, but we've got these two ends of the dough that need to be rounded or smoothed out a little bit so that the bread looks better in the final baked loaf. Just smooth out the dough with your hand on the end, tucking it under the rest of the loaf, then turn the dough around and do the same to the other side. Take your hand, smooth out the end, tucking the flap of dough underneath the entire loaf, and you should be left with an oval-shaped loaf of sourdough bread that looks something like this, ready to be put into the banneton basket for its final proof or its second rise. For the final proof, get out a 10-inch oval banneton basket that you've dusted with a little bit of bread flour, and flip your dough over so that the seam side is facing up, and pop the dough right inside of the banneton basket upside down. Now the dough is ready for its final proof. You've got two options for this. You can cover the dough up with a kitchen towel and let it rise for 2 to 3 hours at room temperature and then bake it. Or you can do what I'm doing, which is a cold proof option. For that, I like to cover the dough up and let it rise for 1 hour at room temperature. That gives the dough a head start on the fermentation. It gets nice and puffy, but it's not fully proofed yet. So at this point, I cover the dough up again, and then I move it to the fridge, and I just let it hang out in the fridge overnight until the next day when I'm ready to bake. I really don't worry about how long it's in there, but anywhere from 8 to 24 hours is completely fine. Then the next day, 30 minutes before I'm ready to bake my bread, I preheat my oven to 450 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 30 minutes, and I've got a Dutch oven inside of the oven preheating along with it. Then once your oven is preheated, it's time to bake your bread. Take the dough out of the fridge and uncover it. It probably won't have grown very much in size during the cold fermentation, but a lot of fermentation action will have been happening inside of the dough, so don't worry, it'll have gained a lot of flavor. Get a piece of parchment paper that's a little bit bigger than the size of your dough, and try to flip your dough out onto that parchment paper. I forgot to loosen my dough from the sides of the banneton basket so it wouldn't budge, but no worries if that happens to you. Just pull on the dough to release it from the sides of the banneton basket, and then try to flip it out again. It should work perfectly. Now it's time to score the dough. If you see any excess flour on top of the dough, it's okay to brush that away, but if you leave flour there, it'll just create an interesting design on the dough once it's baked, so a little excess flour is okay. To score the dough, get out a razor blade or your favorite bread lame. I'm using my UFO lame from Wire Monkey that I've used many times before. Taking your blade and holding it at a slight angle, make one long slash from one end of the dough to the other. It doesn't have to be a completely straight line, it can be slightly curved, but one slash from one end to the other. And then sometimes I give the dough a second pass through with the blade on each end just to make sure I cut through completely. Now your dough is scored and ready to bake. It'll burst open along the score mark in the oven during the first half of the baking time during the oven spring. With your oven preheated and ready to go, transfer the dough with the parchment paper and all right into the bottom of your preheated Dutch oven. Close the Dutch oven lid on top to trap the steam and bake this at 450 degrees Fahrenheit for 20 minutes. 20 minutes later, it's arguably the best part of the whole baking experience. Take the lid off and admire your oven spring. If everything has gone correctly, you should have a beautiful, healthy loaf that has bursted open along that score mark. To finish the bake, keep baking with the lid off for another 15 to 20 minutes, depending on how dark you want your bread to be. 20 minutes later, my loaf was golden brown, exactly the way that I like it. Now that it's done baking, take your loaf of bread out of the oven, transfer it onto a rack to cool for at least an hour before you slice in. One thing I love about baking sourdough breads with a little bit of rye flour is the nutty aroma that fills the house while the bread is baking. Whenever I bake breads like this with a little bit of rye flour included in the mix, there's a nutty, almost cereal-like smell that fills the house while it's baking. Whenever you can enjoy both the flavor and the aroma of a sourdough bread, that's a win. The crumb on the interior of this bread is what I would like to call fluffy and well fermented. If you care about what the inside of your loaf of bread looks like, here it is. Another great thing about this bread is that on the first day that you bake it, the crust is crunchy and crackly and crispy. Check it out. If you want bread like this, you've really got to make it yourself. Now for the taste test. If you like making sourdough bread with a touch of whole grain like whole wheat flour, I highly recommend trying whole grain rye flour. The nutty flavor is very different than wheat flour. Overall, I would describe this bread as tasting nutty, flavorful, and wholesome. This sourdough country bread with rye flour is a great way to switch up your sourdough routine and incorporate a different whole grain flour. If you want to check out all my other recipes in the 52 Weeks of Sourdough series, go to grantbakes.com/52. I'll see you in the next video.